So, welcome to the
All right.
NFT Podcast, Jake from Spatial. And how's it going?
It's going great. Thanks for having me here. Really excited to talk to you about everything we're doing with NFTs and the metaverse. It's amazing.
Awesome. So, you are in the right place. So, let's
Yeah,
tell me more about your project, what is Spatial, and what is your mission and what you're doing.
totally. I'm going to bring up some visuals here so I can kind of talk to it as well. So let me just share my screen really quick
Sure.
and I'll make this full screen here as well.
Awesome. We can
All
see.
right, there we go. Perfect. So Spatial is an incredible platform really that's focused on allowing you to create virtual spaces that bring everyone together. So we run in virtual reality headsets, we run right in a web browser, on mobile devices, even augmented reality headsets as well. And it's really a way to collaborate together, hang out together in amazing virtual spaces, create art galleries with your NFT art, collaborate among work colleagues, really anything where you need to be in the same physical space as someone, which of course is very hard, if not impossible today. Spatial is the platform that allows you to do that. So you can bring in sticky notes, you can do 3D annotations. Like I said, you can bring in 3D models or complex, really interesting 3D models, or videos, art, really whatever that content is. You can bring it together in a singular virtual environment, the metaverse, and hang out with 30 plus people in that room to work together or just have an experience together.
That's really awesome, and I'm seeing a lot of projects that you made with SpaceX, Spatial, no, sorry, and Opensea. So please tell me more about this kind of project. Is there is something in particular that you want to share with me, and about your last milestones that you reach with different partners or with different projects that you worked?
Yeah, so it just to kind of give a little history. So Spatial started really about 4 or 5 years ago with a focus on productivity. How can we make office workers more productive and collaborate with one another when they're at a distance, when they're across the world. So this is before the pandemic, and we really had a strong focus on augmented reality. So devices like the Microsoft HoloLens, so you can see virtual content in your physical environment. And over the last year, we've slowly seen our user base adopt virtual reality. Since we're all at home, mostly by ourselves, right? We don't need to see our living room. We don't want to see our couch anymore. We want to be in a completely different world. So with the advent of affordable, accessible VR headsets like the Oculus Quest, and now with advancements in web technology, in web browsers, people have really started to adopt spatial in virtual reality headsets like the Oculus Quest and in their web browsers, and it's made it much more accessible. But with that greater level of accessibility, we've seen, kind of like you're seeing here, a really diverse set of ways people are using spatial and virtual reality. Not so much to how do we work together around productivity or kind of work focused things, but how do we have experiences together? So what was really interesting was, and you're seeing this here, I'm actually going to jump into one of those galleries you're seeing in the video. Here I'm in Spatial in my web browser. So what happened about 5 or 6 months ago, we started seeing this really big increase in traffic to the web version of Spatial, and we were trying to figure out what exactly was going on there, because it seemed kind of interesting. And what we found was you had artists, both traditional quote unquote artists and then NFT artists, who were bringing in their art into our platform and creating these virtual galleries and events in Spatial. Because today, and really for a while, the way to view NFTs, bid on them, experience them was really through 2D websites. You can look at them on a page like Instagram or Opensea, and you can just look at them and bid on them, but you couldn't really experience them with other people. So we started seeing artists like Federico Clapis, who's an incredible 3D artist, Harlem Perez, another incredible artist who does a lot on 3D and sci-fi renderings, and others create these virtual spaces. So we thought that was really interesting, and it kind of took us in a new direction that we didn't see before. So what we started to do since then was deliver tools and capabilities and partnerships in the NFT space to further our capabilities there. So like you see here, we've partnered with Opensea, and we've done events with them where they've created this virtual gallery in Spatial that anyone can come into. So we can share this link out here. Anyone can go to that link in their web browser or in their VR headset in the Spatial app and go and explore this gallery. So they've brought in a lot of artists to the space, and they've essentially curated this gallery space for anyone to experience. And then we brought in other tools like integration with MetaMask. So to bring in your art really easily, we don't want you to have to export your art, right? Then it's not the original NFT anymore, and then import it into Spatial, but actually bring it in directly via MetaMask. So you can see this button at the bottom of the screen that has the M in it. That's our MetaMask button. So if I actually click that, I can connect to my MetaMask, and that's going to have me log in. But essentially, that'll allow me to bring up all the NFTs that I have in my wallet. And then just by clicking on them, I can easily bring them here into the space. And then now that they're here in the gallery, in this case, this OpenSea gallery, now I can actually click on them. So if I go up to this piece here, there's a banana in this case, we have a little info panel here that's got information pulled from the metadata of that piece. So I can go into this first person view here, come and look at the piece. I can see who owns it or the artist behind it, any information about it, where it's, what gallery or what collection it's a part of. And then I can click on it, and then it'll take me to that original piece on OpenSea, where I can then go and learn more about it or bid on it or trade it, sell it, etc. So what we've had is a lot of these, many artists, tons of artists and collectors and marketplaces creating these galleries and these spaces. So like this one from OpenSea, which is incredible, and this other one that I have here as well from Sabet, who's an incredible artist. He's one of the top 100 selling artists out there today. Was actually recently featured by OpenSea. Has this virtual gallery space that you can come explore as well. So I can come jump around here. He has some pieces here that are still images, but then also some videos as well. And the audio is coming through there. You can't hear it through the stream here, but we have audio coming through there as well. So we have all kinds of artists, like I said, 2D, 3D artists who are creating these spaces and then hosting events. So we've been having regular events in Spatial, sort of gallery opening events on the platform really every week. We had OpenSea about a month ago. Sabet had his a few weeks ago, and we're actually now turning what started as just a gallery focused on his art. He's actually organizing one of the largest NFT events in the world in July called Stratosphere. That's going to take some of the largest auction houses in China, bring them together, and have artists who are submitting their pieces to this event to showcase their art. And then Spatial is actually going to be the virtual component of that event, where you're going to have hundreds of artists displaying their artwork, and that being displayed both in the physical event in China later this summer, and then people can join kind of the digital twin of that event, basically in Spatial, so you can join from anywhere in the world. So tons of incredible events that have been ongoing throughout the last few months, and we have a ton more planned over the next few months.
Awesome. That's really awesome. Thank you for this clear vision about everything you do, about all this partnership. It seems like there is a lot of work behind, and I'm very glad for you that you find all these partners to joining, and it seems that it started a movement. So at this point, because I'm into this NFT world, into VR world, and I see that there are some competitors, let's say some other companies also that are creating virtual galleries, virtual exhibition. So I'd like to ask you, what is very proprietary and patented about Spatial, and what maybe it's like your pitch also in front of investors. So what do you think that is very unique about Spatial? For example, one feature that I saw is that you've got a lifelike avatar, and that's something for me very amazing, very personal, because you are not just thinking about exhibition and art, but you're actually thinking about also the future of meetings and people. So for me, it was very great to see that you can actually meet your friends, your colleagues, and see their face. So also then from this, what is that for you? It's like your pitch in front of anyone, investors or anyone that says, okay, but what about competitors and what about Spatial? What is that makes it so unique?
Sure, definitely. That's a great question. So I think there's three things that we like to focus on that make us unique. One is the one you mentioned initially, is that realistic avatars. So when you join Spatial, when you enter Spatial and you're in any space, you look just like yourself. And the way we do that is through an AI algorithm and just through a selfie. So you take one selfie, then within a matter of about 10 to 15 seconds, they'll apply that selfie to this realistic 3D avatar that you can see here in these videos. So you look at that, everyone looks just like themselves. And with that gets to my second piece, and that's the accessibility. So you can see here people moving around kind of very realistically, and that comes through the fact that we're available on VR platforms and platforms that allow your hands and body movements and head movements to be tracked. So you get that very realistic feeling and that feeling of presence in Spatial. And that's very important, especially when you're dealing with productivity, but really when it comes to like events, right? We want to feel like we're experiencing or having, doing something together next to each other. And that leads to that feeling of presence. So kind of that second point is the fact that we're available totally cross-platform. We're not on just VR or just, a desktop app or web app. However you choose to enter, the spatial verse, as we sometimes call it, is totally up to you, and you'll join that space with others. So if you want to join in the web, you click a link. If you want to join in virtual reality for the best, most immersive experience, we're on the most popular device out there, the Oculus Quest, but then also on Steam. So you can use basically any VR headset to jump in. And then if you don't have or want to use any of those, or if you're on the go, you can just use your phone. We've got mobile apps on iOS and Android. So just being as accessible as possible.
Also,
the third point I think that differentiates us from other platforms, specifically with NFTs, is that it's completely free to use. We're not in the business of selling virtual land or taking a cut off of your NFT sale or trade. Spatial is completely free to use. We operate on a freemium model. So basically everything that you've seen, pretty much everything you've seen so far, the NFT integration, you're seeing custom environments. So you can have a completely unique space. Like here you see Mos Eisley from Star Wars, to these other custom spaces as well. Those are all completely free to use. And then our freemium model, so we have a pro tier, which gets you things like host tools. So if you're hosting an event and you want to lock down the room so no one can make changes or interrupt an event or things like that, host tools give you the power to do that. But that's not necessary to create a gallery or an event or anything like that. It's more of a kind of a nice to have. So that's kind of the three things: is the realistic avatars, the accessibility, and the free to use model.
All right, got it. So all these materials that you brought here, of course, are going to be linked in the description for anyone that wants to see more. And because you mentioned your business model, it will be interesting for me understanding more. So I suppose that because you've got a freemium model, you are going to charge just for custom applications, for just like for enterprises and biggest clients that want to build something into Spatial. This is your way of income that you are developing right now?
Correct. Yeah. So we have the three tiers: the free tier, which gets you basically everything, and then pro, which has a couple of upgrades like host tools, live translation, which is actually a really cool feature that I can show you. So instant live translation, so you can converse with people in different languages.
Wow.
And then upgrading, so you get unlimited storage from 5 gigabytes to unlimited, and then our enterprise tier. So of course, like I mentioned, a big component, kind of where we started, was companies using Spatial for productivity, for meetings, virtual meetings, design review, things like that. So for companies that want to use Spatial across the company, we have the enterprise tier. So that is kind of our business model.
Okay, got it. Who was that believed in this amazing project? Like, who are your investors, if they are like public, of course, that you can share with us? What are the companies that are backing Spatial?
Yeah, we have that on our website. We've been funded. We're raised our Series A funding by a number of big VC firms, a number of White Star Capital and Novia Capital, as well as some of the founders of Instagram and one of the original founders of Apple and Macintosh. So we've had some big name founders and big name people in tech and the VC community that have backed us and continue to back us going forward. So it's been a really exciting time. I was actually a big fan and user of Spatial myself before joining the team. I joined the team about 3 months ago and was a big advocate for it myself before that time for years, since Spatial has been around for a couple of years. So I think we also have a very vocal and active user community, in the thousands, we have a Slack and we have a Discord as well. And both those communities are very active, both within, those Slack and Discords, but then vocally outside of that on social media and things like that too. So I see them as being, investing their time and their excitement in Spatial as a platform. It's been really great to see such an incredible community that we have.
Got it. And you made so far in just 3 months. It seems like that you are very into the team. So at this point, because I've got a clear understanding of what Spatial is and different kind of features, I would like to challenge you into something else. That is, I'm gonna tell you some different, let's say, product and services that maybe you have already integrated or you are willing to integrate over the next, let's say, short, medium period. And I'm just gonna tell you these products and services, and you're just answering me with yes or no. And that if you've got some comments to share after, we can definitely talk about it later. It's okay?
Sounds great.
Okay, so let's start. Productivity.
Yes.
Okay. Artist.
Yes, definitely.
Gamers.
Yeah, definitely.
Influencers.
Yep.
Finance.
Yep.
Education.
Definitely, yes.
Awesome. Healthcare.
Yep.
Awesome. Aerospace.
100%. Yep, definitely.
Awesome.
Sorry, that was three words.
Real estate.
Yep.
Food.
Yep.
And cinema.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome.
I'd say all of those, there are ways that each of those industries can use Spatial in different unique ways. But we have users and customers across all those different industries, or most of the, I'd say, those that are using Spatial today.
Awesome. So that's pretty incredible, because I wasn't expecting that you will say yes to anything. So I'm gonna ask you now, like, if first of all, if you want to pick up one of these industries and tell me more about this, or if there is some other industries that maybe you want to talk about that I didn't mention, that you say that in front of your people, it will be great to let them understand that it can be integrated into Spatial.
Yeah, so definitely. I mean, so those all of those are used in different ways. So like education, let's just choose that one.
Yes, good choice.
Initially. So yeah, so the education, the education field and students and teachers are using Spatial in all kinds of incredible ways. From one end, you have classes right over the last year or more, it's almost a year and a half, I think have primarily transitioned to using Zoom, right? Not a very good way to learn, just by looking at your teacher in boxes and seeing a presentation on slides. So what we've seen a lot of universities doing is not necessarily always transitioning the entire semester of classes into Spatial, but if they want to have an experience or learn something differently, jump into Spatial as an activity. Say, here, let's go into Spatial and do like a virtual escape room, solve some puzzles together, some 3D puzzles or maybe mathematical formulas together, and feel like we're in the same space. Or on another hand, I was talking to another professor who teaches archaeology, and what they're starting to do is two things: recreate a museum that they have on campus in Spatial, so they can bring in 3D scanned objects of artifacts into Spatial, so you can actually say hold an ancient bowl or something like that. So they're recreating these museums, but also allowing you to basically teleport into historical artifacts or sections. So you can take, say, a recreation of ancient Egypt or an archaeological site and make that the entire virtual environment in spatial with just a click. So not only are you looking at a model of, say, the pyramids or some archaeological site, but you can actually live inside of it, basically, with your entire class. You can go there instantly in virtual reality. It's just truly incredible what you can do in just a matter of really minutes or seconds on spatial, but really, I'm just talking about virtual reality as a platform as a whole. So that's education as one example.
Wow. Can you please go to my ex previous school at university and tell them that actually the school that you are building into spatial is way more and it's virtual, it's way more interactive than the kind of physical one. So really, congratulations for this idea. I think it's just one. I hope that you are setting up also like an just educational site on your website, so that I'm really interested in understanding more. Also because education is like the first thing that we need to do about VR and NFTs, because it's also a way for students to show them jobs of the future, because I'm sure that between the jobs that are in your team and into the NFT space, there are some jobs of the future. So I don't know if you want to mention maybe 2 or 3 of them. What do you think that are some jobs that you or your team, or in general the NFT and the virtual world, it's making that they weren't even possible or even imagined to be think 5 years ago?
Yeah, I mean, this whole field is absolutely incredible because, I mean, kind of like you said, I wish I had this technology when I was in school. Virtual reality and being able to do all these things. It's not something I went. I graduated from college to age myself about 10 years ago, so these things weren't even possible then. This entire field, I mean, NFTs, virtual reality, didn't really exist as something that you can use on a regular basis or learn or really make a career 10 years ago. I mean, one field that pops out to mind that I think that we're seeing become, I think one that is going to be really important in the future is this concept of like a virtual architect, a virtual building architect. Because, really, I mean, still today, it's very important to have physical, real world architects that are building real buildings. But this architect of the metaverse is something I think is become a really unique skill set. How do you design virtual spaces that anyone can inhabit in virtual reality? Buildings and models that work well on virtual reality platforms. That'll become easier and easier as the technology gets better. But also kind of opening your mind to the fact that what you build in virtual reality doesn't have to apply to the laws of physics and things like that. You have to build a traditional looking building in virtual reality when you're not dealing with gravity and everything else, traditional design. So I think we're going to see this kind of renaissance of building design. We're already starting to see it today, but an even further renaissance as these technologies get more widely adopted. I'd say like 3D modeling and things like that are going to be really, really important. And just to your other point, I want to show one other thing that I think is really important in terms of like learning.
Sure.
But also kind of, I think you talked about before, how do we kind of cross borders with one another and better learn from one another to avoid things like conflict and wars and stuff like that too. And I think communication is going to be very key. So this is, I'm just going to mute it here, but this is a conversation I was having with Yassine Achi. He's actually an artist in France who created this wonderful character called Alex, who's the UN's first digital ambassador. And we had a conversation and used Spatial's live translation feature to converse with one another. So he is in Paris, I'm in New York. I was speaking in English, and then you'll see he'll start speaking in French, and then have his speech actually transcribed, speech to text, and then translated into English. So he's speaking in French right now, but you're seeing English on the screen. So I'm able to, I don't know a word of French, but I was able to actually listen and understand him and have a conversation with him. We were going on for a long time, having a conversation, without any effort. So I think, expanding the access to this technology, which, VR and these platforms will do, I think just continues to open up borders and will introduce entire cultures to one another that really weren't able to converse or interact with one another on a regular basis until now.
Wow, that's very cool feature that you decided to put into Spatial. I think it's very important for people to like destroy borders between different places of the world. This is what you are doing with your technology, but also under a language and communication perspective, you are really doing everything to be sure that this kind of communication can really happen in any way. So really, that's an amazing feature. Okay, I want to like go for the end of this episode asking you another challenge, let's say, that we're going today at the NFT podcast, and that's the challenge. If you could pick up just one of the company that I'm going to tell you now, and let that this company is going to become a partner of Spatial in order to offer their services into your metaverse, which one will you pick between these companies and why? Here is the list: LinkedIn,
Okay.
Notion, Epic Games, Masterclass, Netflix, Nike, Airbnb, or Stripe. Which one would you pick and why?
That's a very interesting list, and not the one I was necessarily expecting you to throw my way.
Please take your time.
Yeah, I mean, each of those can be really interesting partners in a whole lot of different ways. I mean, I may pick two. I mean, the first one would be Notion, simply because we use it internally a lot already. So being able to integrate, with Notion to access our documents and our documentation, I think would be very powerful. And I know a lot of companies use it already today. So when we build Spatial and add new features, a lot of it comes from what are things that we find useful in our day-to-day, since we use Spatial every day. And then part of it, of course, is what our customers and our users ask for, which we build on every day. So I think Notion would be great to see. And we're always building new integrations all the time. So That would be great to see.
Awesome.
I think.
Awesome. I just wanna stop you a second. Notion. This is not I'm not sponsored by Notion, but if someone from Notion is actually listening now, please consider talking with Jake from Spatial, that he wants to integrate you into your platform. Maybe he will love to. So yes, please go with the second one.
Yeah, so the second one, it would kind of non-traditional, but it kind of goes to the point before of like virtual architecture and things like that. It might be Airbnb, because there's this concept of inhabiting virtual spaces. One NFT artist that we've been working with a lot recently is Krista Kim. For those who don't know, Krista had created the Mars House and sold it earlier this year for $500,000.
Yeah.
But what her and the collector, Art on Internet, have been doing she didn't just sell it. Now Art on Internet owns it, but they've actually been working together and hosting events and allowing people to rent out this space for specific time periods or for specific events. So now that Mars House has gone from basically a rendered 3D model that you can look at on an image or video, we brought it into Spatial, so you can go enter the Mars House and inhabit the Mars House in virtual reality. So she's been hosting events with like Illmind, which is a Grammy Award-winning producer for artists like Kanye and Beyonce. He's been hosting events in Spatial in the Mars House. So I think this concept of, can I kind of rent a virtual space for the weekend or for a couple hours, like with like a virtual Airbnb, could be like really interesting and fascinating.
Awesome. So same here. If someone from Airbnb is listening, consider to have a chat with Jake. Okay, no, absolutely. I totally agree with what you're saying, and one is a very powerful tool, and the other one is a very incredible service that went public few years ago. So I don't know if they are really considering something like this, but I'm sure that not now, maybe or later, they are going to consider what to do with their if offering this kind of services and products into the metaverse, because this is where we are all going. So you cannot miss this train, I think. And because you picked up Airbnb and Notion, just pick one of the two. And I want to make you one last question. That is, how would you use, or how you are already seeing the usage of NFTs for this kind of products. So how would you boost the, let's say, the marketing on just the potentiality of these two companies thanks to NFTs?
Yeah, so I think that's really it's going to be really exciting, and it already has been really exciting. So right now, like what's been happening is, of course, these galleries and events have been having to showcase NFTs. But where we're starting to really move to is this concept of like your own unique virtual environment and your own unique virtual space or room within Spatial, and then having that room either be something that you can sell or rent, and it's the authentic room, produced by you or produced by me, or can I basically show the world that you can only enter this space? It's it's the most unique space on Spatial or in the metaverse. You can only enter this space here, and having the NFT, having the token on the blockchain, proving that this is the only unique space in the metaverse, I think is going to be really exciting. So you can't go onto any other platform to experience that space. So having that proof of uniqueness of a virtual environment is, I think, ultimately where this is heading, and where we're starting to get pull and signal from in our community.
All right, got it. Absolutely. So proof of uniqueness. This is like the kind of feature that for you is going to convince, let's say, this business into jumping into the metaverse. Proof of uniqueness in another, let's say, like use it NFTs as a contract, as a validator, as a proof, as a second proof that what they're doing is unique, and convincing people, like, so building trust around their products using this kind of proof of uniqueness.
Exactly. Yeah. Proof of uniqueness. Also, I think one thing we've been seeing with these events is kind of social proof that you have entered that space, that you went to the unique, that you attended an event or entered a unique space within Spatial. I think, having that authenticity on the platform, especially for brands and others, is going to be extremely important.
Awesome. Like, for example, it's like, I don't know, where there is an event, maybe created by Airbnb just for some special guest. That's the kind of service that you can reproduce into the metaverse. So just for these token holders, you can have this unique space just built for you inside Spatial, where you can organize your event, your meeting, and everything you want.
Exactly. Yeah, and we start to see some events like that happening already. Like I talked about Illmind and Krista Kim did a similar thing where they sold a token, and that token got you access to that event in Spatial. You only were able to access it because you held that token. So I think that's just going to proliferate even more. Awesome. In the metaverse.
Awesome. I wanted to finish, but it came up to my mind a last question about what you are saying. Because you are a company, let's say, built on so you are going to work, and you're working, just already starting to work on the blockchain. So everything that is related to data is different. What's your position with data as a company that works in this world? Is it the same that we saw in the Web 2.0 era, or something is changing in you as having companies working on your platform?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's very different. We're in a different stage. I mean, our business is not in data. We never, resell data or use personal information. There's no ads on the platform.
Okay.
We don't integrate with any ad platforms or anything like that. Our model, again, is strictly that freemium model. We want invite you to, be in the metaverse and experience it with other people. Perhaps, in the future, there could be a business model of, access to pay to access certain rooms, or to show you, again, if you want a token for, access to unique rooms or things like that. Okay. But we have no interest. There's no part of our business that requires or needs any personal information. So I think kind of the future of the internet and the metaverse, especially of what's happened over the last 15, 20 years of Web 1.0, 2.0, has kind of shown the desires of the people of the internet to kind of avoid that. How can we remain true to ourselves, but still retain our information, our personal information, without having to give that up. And that remains a vitally important part of our platform as well.
Yes, absolutely. I think it's way more valuable. It's way more valuable that you allows to create business on your platform that just monetize from ads. So that's the power. That means empowering creators on your platform. So got it. I think that it's really an amazing project. What we hope you had fun today in joining the challenges with the different brands and products and services. And really,
I love
thank you
it.
for coming, Jake. Congrats for what you're doing again.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This is great. I love those questions were definitely unique. So again, it's getting my mind thinking on its own too. Like, yeah, what can we do with these different platforms or other brands and things like that? I think, I always say VR is kind of an infinite canvas, right? We can do anything that we want. So to all those possibilities are extremely exciting. So thanks for having me. Thanks for asking those questions.